Millionaire slapped a black car driver and say, "How dare you to stole my iPhone 17 Pro Max." Please like this video and subscribe for more stories. The sun was setting behind the tall Manhattan towers when Victoria Hale stormed out of the luxury hotel lobby, her heels striking the marble floor like gunshots. People turned to watch the young heiress as her diamond earrings glittered under the golden light. In her hand was a designer clutch, and her anger was written across her perfect face. She stopped in front of the black sedan waiting by the curb, the driver standing straight in his worn jacket. Without warning, she raised her hand and slapped him hard across the cheek. The sound cracked the air. The driver stumbled back, his eyes wide with shock. "How dare you?" she hissed. "How dare you steal my iPhone 17 Pro Max?" The crowd gasped. Some lifted their phones to record, others froze in confusion. The driver, a tall black man named David Carter, pressed a hand against his cheek, his dark eyes narrowing not with rage but with disbelief. He spoke slowly, his voice steady though the humiliation burned in his chest. "Miss Hale, I never touched your phone. I have been waiting here as instructed." But Victoria would not listen. Her rage grew louder, echoing across the street. "You are a liar. I left it in the car, and now it is gone. Do you think I will not notice? Do you think you can take advantage because you drive for me?" David felt the stares of strangers piercing into him. He thought of his daughter back home, waiting for him to finish this shift so he could buy her new shoes. He thought of the long months he had worked tirelessly without complaint, always on time, always respectful. And now he was branded a thief. A man in a gray suit stepped forward from the hotel doors. He was lean, his eyes sharp behind expensive glasses. His name was Richard Stanton, a rival businessman who had always envied Victoria's family fortune. He smirked as he saw chaos unfold. Cameras were flashing, phones were raised, and Victoria's voice carried like a storm. "This is interesting," he whispered to himself, pulling out his own phone to record. Inside the car, unnoticed, a faint vibration shook the seat cushion. David leaned in, lifting the edge of the leather. His heart skipped. There it was, a gleam of silver and glass, wedged deep in the seat crack. He pulled it out slowly, holding up the missing iPhone 17 Pro Max for everyone to see. The crowd erupted with gasps. A woman whispered to her friend. She slapped him, and it was right there the whole time. David extended the phone calmly. "Here it is, Miss Hale." It slipped under the seat. Nobody stole it. For a second, silence blanketed the street. Victoria's cheeks burned crimson. Her pride trembled under the weight of humiliation, but instead of apologizing, she snatched the phone from his hand and shouted, "You should have found it earlier. You embarrassed me." The driver's chest tightened. The injustice was sharp, cutting deeper than the sting of her slap. He opened his mouth to respond, but a sudden voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me, what is going on here?" The crowd shifted as a tall man emerged from a black Rolls-Royce that had just pulled up. His presence commanded silence. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit. His watch glittered with restrained power, and his aura radiated authority. It was Alexander Grant, a billionaire investor and one of the most feared names in New York finance. Victoria's confidence wavered. "Alex," she breathed, her tone suddenly soft. This man tried to. But Alexander raised a hand, silencing her. He turned to David, his eyes sharp yet calculating. "What happened?" David's jaw tightened. He wanted to tell the truth, but he also knew the risk of crossing someone as powerful as Victoria. His daughter's face flashed in his mind again. The crowd began to murmur. Some were recording live streams, broadcasting every word to social media. The story was already spreading like wildfire. Alexander finally spoke. "I saw everything, Victoria. Every word. Every action." Victoria's face turned pale. "You were watching?" "Yes, and I cannot believe what I just witnessed." A silence heavier than the city's traffic settled. Victoria's eyes darted around, searching for allies, but the faces staring back at her were cold. Even Richard Stanton, still recording, grinned like a wolf circling prey. Alexander looked at David with respect. "Young man, you deserve better than this humiliation." Then his eyes hardened as he turned back to Victoria. "You have shamed yourself and your family tonight." But before anyone could process his words, a loud siren wailed. A police cruiser pulled up to the curb. Two officers stepped out, one holding a notepad. "We received a call of a theft and assault," one of them announced. "Which one of you is Victoria Hale?" Gasps swept through the crowd. Victoria staggered back. Someone must have called them." She stuttered. David's heart raced. He had not called. Neither had Alexander. "Then who?" The officer continued. "We have footage submitted by several witnesses. It shows you assaulting this man without cause." Victoria's voice shook. "That's not true. They are lying. He stole my phone." But the officer pointed at David. "Sir, do you have the phone in question?" David held it up slowly, explaining how it was found beneath the seat. The crowd nodded, confirming his words. The officers exchanged glances. "Miss Hale, you will need to come with us for questioning." Victoria's eyes widened with horror. "Me? You cannot do this. Do you know who my family is? Do you know how much money we have?" Alexander stepped forward, his voice cold as stone. "Money cannot erase the truth." As the officers moved closer to place her under custody, Victoria's fury exploded. She twisted suddenly, pointing a finger at David. "This isn't over," she screamed. "You think you won because he is standing here protecting you, but you do not know who you are dealing with." The officers led her toward the cruiser. The crowd whispered in disbelief. Some cheered softly, others recorded every second. David stood frozen, his cheeks still stinging, his mind reeling from the whirlwind of humiliation and vindication. Alexander placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Be careful, son. People like her never forget." The billionaire turned and disappeared into his Rolls-Royce. The door shut, the engine purred, and the car glided into the night. The crowd slowly dispersed, the city lights flickering to life as darkness fell. David leaned against the car, his breathing uneven. The sound of his daughter's voice echoed in his mind. "Daddy, will you be home soon?" And then, as he reached into his pocket for his keys, he felt something that made his blood run cold. A small folded note, tucked neatly inside his jacket. He pulled it out with trembling fingers. The handwriting was elegant, precise. "You think tonight was the end. It was only the beginning." David's eyes darted around the empty street, his chest tightening. Who had slipped it into his jacket? Victoria? Richard Stanton? Someone else entirely? The night air grew colder. In the distance, a shadow lingered by the corner of the streetlight, watching, waiting. David gripped the note in his fist, his heart pounding. He suddenly realized this was no longer about a slap or a phone. It was something far more dangerous, something that had only just begun. And as he climbed into the driver's seat, headlights flickered in his rearview mirror. A black car idled behind him, its windows tinted dark. The engine growled low, following his every move. David swallowed hard, the city suddenly feeling like a maze of secrets and threats. He turned the key, the engine roaring to life, but his mind echoed with one haunting question. What was coming next? Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next story.